There was a time, not so long ago, when the McDonald's breakfast menu was satisfactory at best. Sure, the sausage and egg McMuffin was the reliable captain of the team. On top of that, you had your hash browns, your porridge, and the standard coffee options. But starting in the late 2000s and really hitting its stride in the 2010s, McDonald's UK decided to get a little more ambitious. The simple days of just slapping an egg on a muffin were over. This was the dawn of a new era, a time when the breakfast game truly leveled up, and it was led by two undisputed champions. First, the breakfast bagel. It gained its following through pure, undeniable quality. People would try it once, and that was it. They were hooked for life. The bagel itself was a masterpiece of fast food engineering, soft and yielding, but with that signature chewy resistance you want from a proper bagel. It was lightly toasted, smeared with just enough butter, and then layered with a perfectly cooked egg, cheese, and your choice of bacon or sausage. It was salty, savory, and had a texture that made it feel so much more substantial than the standard muffin options. Then there was the wrap, which existed solely to solve a universal problem. How can one eat an entire cooked breakfast while driving one's car? It came absolutely loaded with a sausage patty, a folded egg, a slice of American cheese, a crispy hash brown, and a drizzle of ketchup or brown sauce, all bundled into a warm, soft tortilla. It was clean, portable, and offered the hearty satisfaction of a genuine square meal, giving you a proper breakfast that filled you up and always felt worth the money. People fell in love with these two items for their deep, profound ability to satisfy. They delivered the feeling of a proper, hearty start to the day with a substance that made other fast food options feel like flimsy afterthoughts. That's why they became staples. They were the morning ritual for countless commuters, the undisputed hangover cure for a generation of students, and the go-to comfort food for shift workers. They quickly grew beyond being mere novelties into dependable, everyday heroes of the breakfast menu. Until one day, they were no more. When the world ground to a halt in early 2020, every fast food chain had to hit the reset button. McDonald's shut down entirely in the UK for a period, then slowly began to reopen under a cloud of uncertainty and strict new safety protocols. To survive, they had to simplify. Menus were stripped back to the bare essentials. Kitchens were reorganized and staff numbers were reduced. The goal was to make service as fast, safe, and streamlined as humanly possible. During those first few months back, a lot of familiar menu items were missing, and honestly, it made sense. Nobody was complaining too much. It was a global pandemic. The fact you could get a Big Mac at all felt like a small miracle. We were all in it together, and we understood that sacrifices had to be made. But as the weeks turned into months and the world started to find its new normal, the menu began to return to its former glory. The burgers were back, the fries were flowing, chicken selects made their triumphant return. Even the notoriously temperamental ice cream machines seemed to be staging a comeback. Yet, two massive holes remained on the breakfast menu. The bagels and the breakfast wraps were still missing in action. Customers waited, assuming it was just a temporary delay, but nothing happened, and the silence from McDonald's was deafening. Then, with almost no fanfare, the news dropped. Tucked away in a short, emotionless update, McDonald's UK confirmed that the bagels and breakfast wraps were being officially, permanently discontinued. The response from customers was far more intense than the usual disappointment over a discontinued item. A sense of genuine confusion quickly escalated into widespread outrage and a feeling of betrayal. This frustration found its voice online, where social media and forums became hubs for discussion. Threads emerged everywhere, all asking what happened to the bagels and wraps. The public outcry soon took a more organized form. Petitions began circulating online, quickly gathering thousands of signatures from fans pleading with McDonald's to reconsider. At the same time, social media became a battleground, flooded with posts tagging the official accounts and demanding the return of the wrap and bagel. For years, despite the clear and overwhelming public pressure, McDonald's didn't budge. They just doubled down on their simplified menu, but the fans were relentless. And eventually, after thousands of DMs, dozens of petitions, and years of outrage, the pressure became too much to ignore. In early 2024, the company finally caved. Well, halfway. But why did they remove them in the first place? Why would a company willingly remove two of its most popular and beloved products? Well, in the post-COVID landscape, with potential staffing issues and supply chain vulnerabilities, removing items with more complex preparation supposedly made kitchens run faster and more efficiently. But that explanation starts to feel pretty thin when, by 2022, the restaurant industry was largely back on its feet, albeit a little shakily. McDonald's was launching new products left and right. In fact, McDonald's was busy introducing new breakfast options like the cheesy bacon flatbread and McPlant burgers, items that, frankly, nobody was asking for. The real reason seems to be less about pandemic logistics and more about a cold, hard shift in business priorities. It's a strategy obsessed with one thing: speed. In the world of fast food, especially at the drive-thru, every second counts. The company likely analyzed the data and concluded that muffins and hash browns were the easiest and quickest items to assemble at a massive scale. Wraps required folding, while bagels required a different toasting process. Despite being wildly popular with customers, they were probably a few seconds slower to make. On a spreadsheet in a corporate office, those seconds add up. The decision was likely made that shaving a tiny fraction off the average service time was worth more than the customer loyalty attached to those slower items. In theory, simplifying makes business sense. But in practice, it was a massive miscalculation. What a company sees as a simple operational tweak, a customer experiences as a broken promise. It sends a powerful message that internal metrics are being valued more than customer satisfaction, especially when the items being cut were already clear winners. And for years, this was the official logic. But the triumphant return of the breakfast wrap in 2024 throws a massive wrench in that argument. They proved they could handle the complexity of the wrap. The kitchens adapted, the supply chain delivered, and it was a smash hit. So if the wrap wasn't too complex to bring back, their excuse for keeping the bagel off the menu vanishes into thin air. Some fans remain eternally optimistic, convinced that McDonald's will eventually see the light and bring the bagel back, even as a limited time promotion. Others have resigned themselves to the fact that it's gone for good. But the conversation has never stopped. That level of sustained discussion is incredibly rare for a fast food item. Most things disappear from the menu and people forget about them within a few weeks. Not this time. When McDonald's UK finally announced the breakfast wrap's return in early 2024, it was an absolute marketing explosion. Demand was so high, they temporarily ran out. The free, overwhelmingly positive publicity they received was worth millions. The irony is now deeper than ever. This is a brand that saw firsthand the incredible success of listening to its fans, only to immediately put its fingers back in its ears. The breakfast bagel's success is practically guaranteed by its partner's triumphant return. By leaving it off the menu, McDonald's is ceding valuable ground in the breakfast wars, seemingly out of sheer stubbornness. But what do you reckon? Were you a fan of the wrap or the bagel? Or is there another lost menu item you're still campaigning to bring back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, give us a like, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Cheers for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.